these two are here. And here comes Chase Briscoe. It's the 3 JGR Toyotas. Wallace is still hanging on. Hamlin has come up into second. With those power steering issues, the man who has led 160 laps today still has a chance on this final lap. Briscoe's in the wall. Bubba's hanging on. Here comes Hamlin. Driving that car with no power steering. Bubba's in the wall. He's fighting his boss for this win. Chase Elliott comes through on the inside. Oh my goodness. Chase Elliott.
That was the finish of this weekend's race at Kansas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of the Motor Stardom Show. It's Tuesday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. You know what that means. We are here, we are live, and we are ready to talk about some Kansas action. It was a certainly thrilling Sunday race that we saw there. A little bit of calm race on Saturday, but certainly more thrilling on Sunday. We had some news, few eggs dropped this past week about some silly season moves, some crew chiefs on the move as well, and what they will do in 2026. Now we're getting ready for the Charlotte Roval weekend. Really excited about that. Driving up tomorrow to North Carolina. Excited to get back to Charlotte and excited to be there to cover what will likely be my last race weekend of the season. So I'm RJ Starks, owner and founder of Motor Stardom, owner and founder of Motor Stardom, the brand itself, as well as the Motor Stardom show here on Tuesday nights. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's go bring up that finish that we were just talking about here and kind of run through it. So you got Bubba Wallace. He's out here in the lead. He's been fighting. They had a few restarts. We will go back on what happened a few restarts before this a little bit later. But as you can see, Denny Hamlin's fighting power steering issues all race long. Was the dominant car, but on pit road, that's what costed them. That's what made them lose position. So he gets behind here, gets to the inside of Bubba Wallace, and everybody's wondering what's going to happen here. How hard is he going to race him? He also has power steering issues. Hamlin claims he let off real early. Anyways, washes up the track, puts the 23 in the wall, and there's not only you look at this screenshot right here. Well, actually, let's go back and look at this one first. Because as you can see, we have Bubba Wallace, a Toyota. 3 wide behind them are 3 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas. I mean, we can even add that Tyler Reddick is right back there in 6th. But we look at Chase Elliott is the only Chevrolet up here in the top 5, and he is 5th, right? How in the world would Toyota mess this up? You look at Chase Elliott, he goes to the high side of Christopher Bell right there. Boom, shoots low on Chase Briscoe because he lost momentum as well because they're all side by side. That's really how these cars work, especially in the truck series as well. You see when cars get side by side, especially these mile and a halves, the cars get the run behind them. Chase Elliott is side by side with Briscoe. He gets into the wall. Now he's got the leverage on Chase Briscoe. And clearly, as you can see, we can't see it totally behind us, but Chase Briscoe is going to totally lose the position on Chase Elliott. And Elliott just flies all the way by. No dirty air in front of him because you see how high, obviously, the 11 and the 23 are here. And that just allows Chase Elliott to drive on by and clear himself. For the visual was this, 4 Toyotas in front of Chase Elliott, coming to 1 lap to go to the end of the race, where Chase Elliott is then in front of all of those Toyotas. It's something we don't see often. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. So obviously the big conversation, right? The cornerstone of the conversation, the center of every conversation is Denny Hamlin. What are you doing? Right? What are you doing? You're the team owner here. You're the owner of 2311 Racing, and you're just going to drive it in here full send, balls to the wall, and take out the 23 car, who you own. Hamlin went on his podcast on Monday and said, well, on Sundays, I'm the driver at 11. Now, I will say he has said this before. Is it total BS? Not completely. Is there part of it that's like, yes, while he is driving, he is thinking about his cars? Of course. Is that question going through his mind potentially, right? As he goes to the corner, hey, this is my car, right? Is he going to push the 23 past somebody for a win? Yes, and you could say yes because he's the owner, but also because he's a Toyota teammate. But I look at things here as, this is a teammate, right? I think if this were Kyle Larson on the bottom and Chase Elliott on the top, and Kyle Larson runs Chase Elliott all the way on the fence, and Ryan Blaney goes by, right? Hendrick Motorsports is going to be pissed off, and people are going to be pissed off at Kyle Larson because you just cost Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports a win. So I think that's kind of the perspective that not a lot of people are bringing. But what we also need to look at here is, yes, Denny Hamlin is the driver of the 11. He's going to do whatever he can to cash the check for Joe Gibbs Racing because they pay him a lot from what he said. But you also got to look at it in the perspective of you just cost Toyota a victory. And that's what Bubba Wallace was saying at the end of the race. Like, I'm just upset we didn't get Toyota a victory because at the end of the day, he had 4 Toyotas up there and a Chevrolet ends up getting the win at Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet nonetheless. So, I mean, watching him all the way up in the track. Obviously, I'm sure he didn't really want to do that, but, finds a way after that. Obviously, he says, oh, can't turn, drives all the way up there. All of a sudden gains the ability to turn all the way down the track after that. Turns so far down the track, he door slams Chase Elliott, who's coming through. As you can see right there, they make the contact after Elliott goes by on the inside. So, do I believe the 11 car got tight? Yes. Do I believe that he did not care what happened in that corner? Certainly so. And I mean, this car just a week removed, right? After this incident with Ty Gibbs that we already talked about a week ago. Drives into the corner, gets to the left corner panel of Ty Gibbs, and around goes that 54 car. Again, like we talked about last week, almost into that 20 car, right? So where's the balance here? You have that controversy, and we've almost forgot about that controversy because of what happened at Kansas, getting into the 23. Bubba Wallace gets put on the wall by his own team member, resulting in a Hendrick Motorsports victory. That's the headline, and that's the truth. That is what happens. Chase Elliott, nonetheless, obviously behind all of this controversy of Toyota, of Joe Gibbs Racing 2311, of Denny Hamlin, he gets his second win of the season in a year where he has been incredibly consistent. Obviously hasn't gotten those checkered flags, but was in the conversation for the regular season points winner without a win for a good amount this season. Doesn't end up getting it right, but he was in that conversation, top 3 in points all year long. So he's a guy that if he gets to victory lane, the potential's off the charts. And I get people calling. I mean, I thought it was the most ridiculous Twitter narrative of the season, calling for the job of Alan Gustafson, saying the 9 team needs to get looked at. He's top 3 in points. If we didn't have this stupid playoff system, nobody would even be caring about that. They would be saying how great of a season the 9 team has been having. So for them to now get to this end part of the season, which we've seen Chase Elliott be strong at these types of tracks before, to just be able to notch the win at Kansas. Now you're automatically in that last round where you have Martinsville, you have Las Vegas, tracks where he's been good at before, especially Martinsville, Talladega, right? In that final round, another stupid decision, but that's something we have to look out for. Is it going to be a super calm race? Is it going to be a super crazy race? We'll just have to find out. But Chase Elliott, a guy who obviously didn't compile a bunch of those playoff points, was kind of in a weird point situation going into the playoffs, right? There was potential, he could point himself out in the opening round. He could have pointed himself out in this round. Next round, not going to start too pretty as well, but I think the tracks are certainly in his favor to where he can advance. And now kind of leads us to checking out what the standings look like now. In my opinion, we got 6 drivers who are virtual locks for the playoffs. 2 of them already being for sure, with Chase Elliott with a win, Ryan Blaney with a win. 4 guys that, unless an abysmal day at the Roval, an amazing day for somebody else, these guys are pretty much in. Kyle Larson at plus 54, Denny Hamlin at plus 48, Christopher Bell at plus 44, and William Byron at plus 40. Those 4 guys to me seem like they're virtual locks into the next round. And then the real sketchiness kind of gets to when we get to the 7th and 8th position. Chase Briscoe, he's plus 21, right? A kind of iffy day would get him below the cut line. Do I see that happening? Not at all. I think Chase Briscoe's great at road courses. That 19 team has been on fire lately. Unless they totally miss the ball, I think they're certainly going to be locks into the next round. But the sketchiness comes here, right? Joey Logano was in the same position last year, right? Going into the Roval, that elimination race, he was eliminated, and then Alex Bowman DQ'd. Joey Logano gets in, ends up winning the championship, right? So does something crazy like that happen this year, right? Let's look to below the cut line. Ross Chastain, they've just been okay, right? This playoffs, nothing crazy. Do I think they have a great day at the Roval? I don't think so. Is Ross Chastain the type of driver to kind of push it beyond the limit, to maybe, right, push the strategy, push the aggression on the restarts? Maybe he's able to point 13 points over Joey Logano if they have a bad day. But this is where it gets really interesting. This 10th to 12th position, Bubba Wallace, minus 26. Very good on the road courses lately. Him in 2311. Same with Tyler Reddick. He certainly could be in the question to win this race. And Bubba Wallace obviously going to be racing with a lot of aggression, being that they feel they should have won at Kansas and should have already been punched in. And then Austin Cindric in a must-win situation. 3-4 years ago, he was looked at as that road ringer. Now, not really much so, right? The two team and Austin Cindric in this next-gen car haven't really found a groove. So is he going to be that guy that goes into the Roval and is able to get a win himself into the playoffs? You never know. We've seen crazier things in the postseason, but that is what things look like right now.
Caution is out.
Go back to one of those overtime restarts. There's Zane Smith.
And over.
Flipped over.
Guarantee inside the car. Those are some very hard hits. Scary situation right there. Driver against the asphalt.
It's a crazy visual right there. I want to go back to that. Just riding on the side there. This next gen car has provided insane physics, I guess, the way these crashes happen, and we've seen a new one here. John Nemechek getting loose, getting into Zane Smith, and literally just hitting him the right way. So this box car gets on its side, rides the wall, and flips over. And we see our first season. Well, not where you had Ryan Preece at Daytona, but a first flip on a non-super speedway. We saw a few of those last year, but upside down there in that Speedy Cash Ford on his side against the wall. Certainly not ideal. He was able to get out and be okay, but certainly disappointing. A lot of people not talking about the fact that they were having a great day. Zane Smith has really turned some heads this year. They've had some consistent runs, especially towards the end of this season, while Front Row Motorsports really has struggled as a whole. They have been, quite frankly, one of the worst teams on the grid, in my opinion, this year compared to where they've been at before and what we expect of them. Todd Gilliland just has not had anything this year, literally nothing, nor has Noah Gragson. And Zane Smith's been that only guy to really be able to run up there in the top 10 legit in some of these races. He gets taken out by John Nemechek, a former driver of the 38. The only other really incident of the day, fitting enough, is a Front Row Motorsports Ford. But Austin Cindric, this is really what put him back. They weren't having a good day at Kansas either. It's been a bad round for them, but this just made it even worse. They get caught up in this wreck. Joey Logano got caught up in it as well, so that wasn't ideal. But certainly not great for those Penske Racing or Team Penske Fords as they look to get into the next round while their teammate Ryan Blaney is advanced. We'll circle back to the playoffs here in a little bit, but definitely a big congratulations to Brandon Jones, who was able to get back in victory lane for the second time this season with Joe Gibbs Racing. We talked about it when he won the first time this year. He went back to junior, or not back, but he went to Junior Motorsports for a few years, did not have any success. I mean, no playoffs, no wins, no nothing. That team stunk. His actually only success was at Kansas when he won a pole last year at that racetrack. He's won before at this racetrack with Joe Gibbs Racing, and he's able to take the lead, never look back late in the race, and he's able to get the victory. So big props to him, big props to Joe Gibbs Racing, because now this is a guy that goes into the final round, which, just like the Cup Series, consists of Vegas, Martinsville, Talladega. Anything can happen. Brandon Jones is a guy that's really good at Phoenix. So it's like if he gets there, Brandon Jones could somehow be a spoiler for the playoffs. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, but definitely congrats to him. Congrats to Connor Zilisch as well. He's able to set the most top fives in a row, I believe it was. I thought this graphic showed it, but doesn't. Just says a 41-year-old record broken. But for Connor Zilisch for breaking that record by Sam Ard, just speaks to the consistency of this guy. I mean, there was a streak where he didn't finish outside the top two for a while this season. He's still able to get an amazing finish at Kansas, even though he doesn't get the victory. Right. And if it's not Brandon Jones winning the championship this year, it's definitely going to be Connor Zilisch, as Christian says in the chat. Yeah, Brandon Jones will make the Final Four. I think that's a good prediction. But Zilisch, being too good, I do worry about Connor Zilisch a little bit going into Phoenix, right? A little different than Corey Heim, but I think that 88 car has just been so fast this year. I think they're just going to be unbeatable at virtually many of these tracks. Speaking of Junior Motorsports, next year, they're going to look a little bit different. They're going to look a little bit different in the driver, from a driver's standpoint. And they're also going to look a little bit different with a crew chief of the number 1 car. Rodney Childers is coming over to Junior Motorsports for the 2026 season. Will crew chief the number 1 entry. I don't believe this was on anybody's bingo card. We talked about Rodney last week on the show and where he could potentially go. And I believe this came out the next day. But he will crew chief the number 1 entry, which will be shared by various drivers, but primarily by Carson Kvapil and Connor Zilisch. Now, kind of answers our question about Carson Kvapil as well. What is he going to be doing next year? Is that the only thing he will be doing next year? Driving part-time for Junior Motorsports. Clearly, all this thing tossed around Penske either isn't happening or it ain't happening yet. And now there's rumors about the 9 car will still be a part-time entry as well. So you kind of look at things and be like, okay, is Junior Motorsports going to stay as 3 full-time drivers, right? Technologically speaking, they would still have 1 seat open because with Justin Allgaier coming back in the 7, Sammy Smith coming back in the 8 was also announced last week, who will drive the 88, or at least what is, portrayed as the 88. If they change numbers again, we will see. But definitely congrats to Rodney Childers going over to Junior Motorsports. That's an awesome move for him, and excited to see what he does over there. So, talking about Charlotte Roval, Christian talking about in the chat, it is SVG versus the field at the Roval, which is something we haven't really seen. The Roval is a very different beast, right? If anything, if it's been anybody's wheelhouse, right, over past years, we could say AJ Allmendinger because of the Xfinity series and whatnot. But I think this is really cool. Really cool for SVG because he's had a great round, right? Not still in the playoffs, but he was really, really fast at New Hampshire. Unfortunately, got caught up in an incident there, but he was running top 10. Kansas, he gets a top 10. Congrats to SVG getting that top 10 and being able to, finish that race off inside the top 10. He came back from a lap down, a pass through. So to see him improve on the ovals, getting his first top 10 on an oval, I think is really awesome for Shane Van Gisbergen. So we'll see how he does at the Roval. It'd be funny. Look, man, that was my prediction. Steven nagged on me for it. I wanted to see Shane Van Gisbergen move on. It was more of not maybe me realistically thinking he could. I still thought it was a possibility, but it was more of my heart saying, you know what, if SVG moves through this playoffs just because of how wonky the playoffs are, right? Maybe he is able to make it through the playoff rounds and win the Roval, right? Make it to the round of 8, and who knows what happens from there. But great to see the improvement by SVG, not in this playoff grid, but again, for those of you new joining into the stream here, talking about Kansas, talking about the playoff picture, talking about the drama that has been caused by Denny Hamlin in back-to-back weeks here. First with his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Ty Gibbs, and now with his own driver Bubba Wallace diving into that corner, running Bubba Wallace up the racetrack, making it down on the bottom, but too late because Chase Elliott was coming down there. Almost reminded you of Austin Dillon's win at Richmond, right? Cleaning out Logano, coming back down the track and getting into Hamlin, although that wasn't Hamlin's intentions, obviously, but that is certainly what it reminded me of. But I want to go back to just my favorite visual for you all joining the stream here is coming to the white flag, as you can see. Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, the top 4. What do all 4 of those cars have in common? They are Toyotas. 3 of them are Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas, and one of them's owned by the car that's sitting right behind him right there in white. Who's that in 5th? Well, that's a Chevrolet. That's Chase Elliott, right? You think virtually he has no chance, but bam, gets the draft. Christopher Bell loses momentum. He goes to the top. I'm going to shoot to the bottom right here. I'm having a good time. Goes below Chase Briscoe. Briscoe on the outside fighting. They're still going to be side by side on the backstretch, but Briscoe kind of gets in the wall here. So Chase Elliott's thinking, okay, I got momentum. And we can at least get a big P3 here. Point stay. I got team owner going against his own driver here, but no, he puts him in the wall. Elliott's going to ride the bottom here. Totally clean air. Boom, right in the 11 car. And all of a sudden, we take the visual that we had coming to the white flag with 4 Toyotas and a Chevy behind it. And somehow, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Chevrolet ahead of all 4 of these Toyotas. Also, mind you, in the back, Kyle Larson has passed Tyler Reddick back there. So another Chevy overtaking a Toyota. But an absolute meltdown. Like we have not, like I can't remember. I mean, you guys please chime in if you can remember anything, but I don't ever remember a manufacturer meltdown this bad. You can maybe look at some plate races where maybe stuff's happened, right? When Toyota just wrecked each other, running single file, the wreck that unfortunately had Eric Jones injured for a few weeks. But that wasn't the end of the race like this one. I mean, it's like here it's like, I mean, you just play the cards right, you don't wreck each other, right, and you are able to at least get Toyota a win. You got a 4 and 5 chance of getting it, and you don't. And Chase Elliott makes it by you all. An impressive run for Chase Elliott, and again, like I was saying earlier, in a season where a lot of people have bitched and moaned about the 9 car, saying, oh, Chase Elliott, man, he ain't got it. Alan Gustafson ain't got it. They need to fire Alan Gustafson. They're top 3 in points all year, fighting for the regular season championship. I mean, what more do you want? Of course, the wins, but I'd rather have the consistency than, ending up like Alex Bowman, and that's just the harsh truth. So Chase Elliott to still be at a point where William Byron's kind of rocky a little bit, right? He's kind of just there. He's using all those playoff points they gained at the beginning of the year, still getting decent finishes, but is he still that championship favorite right now? Kyle Larson, is he a championship favorite right now with how good we've seen the Toyotas be, with how good we've seen Ryan Blaney, and now Chase Elliott having consistency, rocking it up to the front of the field like we just saw? Is he a championship favorite? I don't know, man. My Final Four still sits as what it was. It's William Byron, it's Christopher Bell, it's Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney. That's my Final Four. I had William Byron winning the championship. And it still can happen, man. The thing you got to realize is momentum matters, but it doesn't matter as much as it did before, because everything that happened in this round, yeah, you made it to the next round, but is that going to help you in the next round? Are you going to carry that speed over? Maybe, right? But it reset, right? All the points you gained, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the playoff points that you gained in the regular season. So it's an interesting dynamic, right? You want to say that X, Y, Z, these cars have the momentum, but that could totally change next round because of the tracks, because just anything, and anything can happen around you as well. Let's see. Remember Toyota did this earlier in the year in Atlanta, Xfinity, when Corey Heim refused to push the 18. There were controversy over that too. Yeah, that is true. Refusing to push the 18. I certainly, I mean, I think, was that this year or was that last year already? No, I think it was this year. I think you're right. I remember I was at Atlanta last year in the fall, and there was an interesting finish. I thought, was that last year in the fall? I don't know. I could be wrong. I was at Atlanta last year in the fall, and I know Corey Haim was fighting for the win in that race, and I thought there was something like that, but maybe not. But nonetheless, certainly, I don't remember as big of a meltdown as I've seen than what just happened. But either way, I'm glad we just got some drama, right? We got some drama the last few weeks. That was last year. That's what I thought. I thought it was in the fall, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe it was the spring too. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Correct each other. Correct everybody here. But I'm just glad we got some storylines. We got some storylines, man, other than just the playoffs. And Denny Hamlin seems to be the center of it. And maybe does it help or doesn't help that he has a podcast to go on, every Monday and talk about maybe the rights and wrongs of what he did. Like we kind of talked about earlier, he went on there saying, hey, on Sundays, I'm the driver of the 11. I don't got to worry about my drivers. I'm only focused on me. And that's totally understandable. The way I kind of break it down is, your manufacturer still has the right to be upset because hypothetically, Kyle Larson's Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott's the 23, and Hendrick Motorsports teammates wipe each other out here. Or even if it was, I mean, gosh, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, right? Chevrolets wipe each other out, and all of a sudden Ryan Blaney skirts by on the bottom. So either way, I think the manufacturer certainly has the right to be upset. 2311 still can be upset. And Bubba Wallace can still be upset because even if Denny Hamlin was somebody else, I'd still be pissed off too. You put me in the wall, power steering issues or not, what you were going in there with. And it's not like he entered really low either. I mean, the dude entered, center of the corner too. I didn't really expect that. I'm expecting a dive here, But it was interesting. And Bo Wallace is expecting that too. And, you can say maybe this is what washed Hamlin up the track, but maybe he just couldn't turn when he got in there. But I mean, he barely even got to that lower seam, washes all the way up the racetrack. And then, boom, he's able to just beeline down the track here, slam into that 9 car. And Chase Elliott is able to get the win there. So crazy stuff over at Kansas. And we're looking forward to the Roval this weekend, man. I'm excited to get there. Don't know if anybody's going, if anybody here's going. Don't know if Checkered Flag Dan, I haven't seen him in a few weeks, but Checkered Flag Dan, if you're going, please let me know, let us know, let anybody know, whether it's Mason or Steven or myself. And we will figure out a way to get in touch with you and see what's up, or anybody in here, man. Please come by Charlotte. I'll be there. I don't know what I'll be wearing, but I'll be wearing something. I'll probably say Motor Stardom on it. So come by, say what's up. I'm really excited to get back there. Went there last summer, not for a race, but just to visit for 2 weeks. Was at the 2022 Coke 400. That was a lot of fun. So I'm certainly looking forward to getting back there. It's going to be a long drive, but certainly going to be worth it. Certainly going to be a lot of fun. Looking to get back to Cookout too, man. If y'all know Cookout, it's a good time. I'm a foodie, so I'm looking forward to getting some late night eats, some 2 a.m. Cookout after the 7-hour Truck Series Roval race after 20 cautions and a rain delay. So I'm looking forward to that, man. That's for sure. As far as the show, got a big show hopefully planned next week. We're going to have a lot of guests. We've had a few kind of I won't say down weeks, but more low-key weeks here. Just, some time to come on, chat with you guys, chat about the previous weekend. For those of you that have watched the show all year long, thank you very much for tuning into it. It's going to look a little bit different going forward. And next year, we got about, we're going to take some time off in the off season. We'll do a few special things here and there. The Daytona Charity Shootout as well. That'll be streamed again live on Turn 200 iRacing. As always, those guys are awesome. And I can't wait to return to that in January of 2026. So we'll have that. We'll do a lot of fun stuff over the off season with you guys, some fun games, maybe a game show night here on live with a lot of the followers on the account as well. But a few low-key nights, nothing announced, just whoever wants to come by and watch these last few weeks, can come by. But show will look a little different, unfortunately. Unfortunately, things happen, business happens, and life happens, unfortunately. While things won't look the same as it's been the past, however many months, 7, right? Since we've started this show, it's been amazing. It's been awesome being able to do this with both Steven and Mason. The chemistry, the flow, the guests we've had on was unmatched, but I'm excited to see what it brings in the future, what next year brings. And, these next 4 weeks, we're going to finish it out strong the rest of the year. Next week, we're going to have some great guests on. Looking forward to that. Possibly Natalie Decker joining the show, Andy Jankowiak. Maybe we'll get some Caesar Baccarella action going back in here, and then hopefully some Cup drivers by the end of the season. So, I can promise you guys certainly some awesome live episodes, some live content the next few weeks as we get ready to crown a champion in the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series. So that'll cap it off for tonight. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Thank you to Christian and Nathan, everybody that comes in, chats with us. Next week, we will be back in full force. We're going to have a lot of guests on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, like I said, going to look a little different. It's going to be the same old banter, same old fun. And we'll get some great guests on and have a good time. And most importantly, chat with you guys. So thank you as always for tuning in. And we'll see you next week on the Motor Stardom Show. Let's watch that finish one more time.
These two are here. And here comes Chase Briscoe. It's the 3 JGR Toyotas. Wallace